It's the Morning Brew with Elle Dawson and Gillian Robertson. Brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Hello. What's going on there, Dave? Good morning, guys. We are live. Dave is here to help with our technical difficulties. Sorry, we're about 2 minutes late this morning, but we are here. We're back. We're here on StreamYard Live. We are live on the YouTube. We are live on the Facebook. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube, please do so because you should. I am here with the lovely Gillian the Savage Robertson. How are you doing today? We have some big news.
I was going to say, with the news that was dropped this morning, I think there's only one answer, I'm excited as anything. I'm super happy. I can't wait. This is an opponent that I've wanted. I feel like I admire her, I admire her striking. She's a killer on the feet. She's always looking for the finish. And I feel like it's a great matchup for me. It's a great fight. And it's another one to add to my record,
Yeah, love it. For those of you who don't know, Gillian is fighting Marina Rodriguez officially. Where and when?
Where I actually don't know location. But May 3rd is the date. So May 3rd.
Awesome. Yeah, no, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about this matchup a little bit as the first official interview for your fight camp. But you said you've wanted this fight for a long time. Is there something you specifically see in Marina? Is it just the name value? Obviously, she's fought the who's who of this division. What is it about her that excites you?
It's the name value. It's the fact that my last couple of fights, I've been moving up like one, it's finally somebody that is like up 3 or 4 spots. I can jump a little bit in the rankings, finally get like I said, with the name value, get my name noticed a little bit more around. And I really think it is just, I don't know. I'm hoping like I said, we don't have a location or anything. I'm like, fingers crossed we get like a main event or something, an Apex main event, because I'm like, I feel like Marina is somebody who can hold that spot, and I feel like I am somebody who can hold that spot now too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that'd be super cool to see. Is there anywhere you wouldn't want to fight? I know a lot of people are like, oh, so happy I'm not on the Mexico City card is usually the answer I hear.
That's definitely when I was looking at the beginning of the year, the Saudi Arabia, so last night, was definitely one I didn't want to be on, just the travel. And then the Mexico City was another one where it's obviously with the elevation, it's a lot. But I have no idea. I've just seen media rumors. This is not me like putting it out there. But there's rumors that there may be a Canada card early May too. So I'm like, my 2 predictions is either going to be at the Apex, or we're going to be on a Canada card.
That would be really cool. Dave, I don't know if Dave is trolling us, but Dave says, I'm here in Iowa.
I haven't heard anything for it, so I have no idea. Savage Fight Night in Iowa, yeah.
Let's go. Surrounded by the corn.
And what else?
Right? That's it. There's just corn.
Yeah.
We used to take road trips when I was a kid, and my sister and I would play I Spy when we'd be driving through like Nebraska, Iowa, all these states, and we'd be like, I Spy, it's corn. Like, it's corn.
That's about it. Yeah, everything is corn.
Anyway, we're super excited that our very own Gillian has some fight news. Obviously, we'll be checking in with her periodically throughout her camp. But we got to dive right into UFC Saudi Arabia, because this may be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like this fight night absolutely delivered. And honestly, I think it's going to deliver in hindsight more than the upcoming pay-per-view personally. So your thoughts on UFC Saudi Arabia as a whole?
As a whole, I think there was only a couple fights that were like kind of like, not really as exciting. I know like the heavyweight fight on the main card wasn't necessarily like the most exciting fight. But honestly, besides that, there's very few that I can be like, that was kind of a snooze fest. Like as a whole, the card was pretty decent, and it, I guess, with not having a lot of big names on it as well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I feel like there weren't a lot of boring fights. We got to see Bogdan Grad make his debut after a really close Contender Series fight. I don't know if you saw that Contender Series fight with Michael as well, but they went to absolute war. And a lot of people thought he lost that fight. So to be able to come out, get the comeback, I thought he was down personally, at least a round, maybe 2. And then to get the finish, I was really impressed with him. I thought Jasmine looked really good. You fought Mayra Bueno Silva, right?
Yeah, a long, long time
Long
ago.
time, right?
So I fought her on, it was 3 weeks notice in Sao Paulo. And I was like 23 years old. And it was a big
Wow.
learning lesson of my career.
Well, she's big too. I know she really struggles to make that cut to 125. So you fought her at flyweight, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I believe I was one of her first fights at flyweight because I want to say because regionally I think she was a 35er, and
Right.
then she fought on the Contender Series at 35, I believe, and then I want to say I was one of her first fights at flyweight.
Wow. So yeah, so big
Yeah.
big girl too. And now you're at 115, and she recently fought for the 135-pound title. But big win for Jazz. Yeah, I thought her wrestling looked great. She's kind of a dog, Dawson said. Jasmine being the first female to win in Saudi. Yeah,
I
that's
was going to
wild.
say that too. First female fight in Saudi Arabia too. It's absolutely amazing for those two girls just to be able to hold that spot. But Jasmine, I feel like she's very like we're both like the Canadian girls with the top like heavy top pressure grappling, just looking for ground and pound and looking for submission. So I feel like we're very similar in our styles. I'm always rooting for her.
Always heavy pressure, lots of grit. Yeah, super. It was super fun to watch that fight too. Um, Terrence McKinney had a big knockout.
Terrence,
Shamil had a knockout.
Terrence
Knockout after
McKinney
knockout.
was the thing that I was the knockout of the night to me. I'm like, from the beginning to the end, it was just a beautiful performance for him. He came out trying to kill him on the feet, like he's always trying to finish the fight in the first round. So comes out with that same pressure, gets taken down, has some nice jujitsu, which I didn't expect out of him, honestly. Like he got a guillotine and then got a nice sweep off of it. Off the sweep, was able to get to mount and be able to get to the ground and pound positions. So I'm like, he honestly really impressed me with his jujitsu work in that fight, where I just feel like we haven't really seen that from him in the past.
Yeah, and I said this on the show on the post show last night as well. I feel like Terrence McKinney did what he should do against a guy of Damir Hadzovic's level. Like I think Terrence McKinney is in the spot where he smashes most guys below him, and I do think that Damir is not quite up to Terrence McKinney's skill set. So I'm happy to see him back in the saddle. Not that he like Esteban Ribovic. I don't always say his last name wrong. He is no loss to scoff at. Like that dude's an absolute savage, but that was a nasty knockout. So it's nice to see him back in the win column after something like that.
And then another fight that I guess kind of caught my interest was Mike Davis. What was his game plan?
So I said this last night too. There's absolutely no way I will believe that coming out and pulling guard was his game plan. Like there's no way his coach told him to do that. Absolutely not. The guys at Fusion are not. No, I think his issue last night was up here. And, maybe his body didn't feel great. He didn't feel super confident, but I feel like the second he did that, if I'm Fares Siam, oh, my confidence just shot through the roof. It's like, oh, you're terrified of me. Like you're terrified to stand up with me if that's the case, So I hated to see that for him, but I feel like a guy like Ziam, like you're not just going to catch him. He's super tough and he's always trying to win. Like he fought out of some crazy tough positions, right?
Yeah, no, exactly what you're saying though. I don't think it looked like Michael. It didn't look like him in there. It didn't look like he was like, I don't know. He looked like a different person, a different fighter. It didn't look like he was in it mentally. And like, honestly, to go back to the Mayra Bueno Silva, I'm like, that's how I felt in that fight. I'm like, it is something that I feel like as fighters, whether, I don't know, the reasoning behind it or whatever, it's something that's why the UFC has a sports psychologist on payroll for us.
That. Really?
Yeah.
Have you used them before?
Oh yeah, I talk to him weekly. His name's Micah. He's an absolutely amazing person, and I feel like he has really just like elevated my game in getting mentally focused in where I need to be in fight night and like all through fight camp too, just like managing stress and things like that.
That's really cool. I actually obviously I know they have the PI, they have a wonderful facility, they have physical therapists, they have personal trainers, they have nutritionists, but I did not know they had a sports psychologist, which makes sense. Yeah. Man, the UFC just does it best, right?
Oh yeah, no. I'm like, anybody who talks shit on the UFC, I'm like, they don't know. I'm like, they take care of us so well.
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, no, I mean we can dive we can dive more into the Mike Davis fight if there's something you specifically want to pick apart. I actually do want to ask you something with that. I hear people like, and this is somebody coming from somebody who's had 5 knee surgeries. I feel like the calf slicer in the moment with all the adrenaline is pretty low percentage, right? Like people were freaking out about it. And I was like, no, I think he's probably okay. Am I off the wall for kind of feeling that way? Do you think?
I don't know, because like I guess people have tapped from calf slicers in the past in fights, so it's
Not
like
often though,
yeah,
right?
not often, definitely, but I'm like but it's also not gone for often, I guess too.
True, true.
I'm like the positions that his knee was in was definitely didn't look pretty. I
I agree.
I will say that much. I I think at a point it just got that like he was almost too entangled in it to let go as well. Like he
Right.
like couldn't let go of the position because even he got swept at one point because of it and then swept him back. So I'm like I think it was just kind of like they were both kind of stuck there after he set it up because of the way that Zaim rolled.
Right. No, that kind of makes sense. Did they get fight of the night? I only saw the performance of the night.
Fight of the night was I believe the co-main. I want to say no it wasn't.
Or is it
Um,
Saeed?
no, it was it was Nurmagomedov.
It was
Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov versus Oliveira. That's right. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. No, yeah, it was that fight. But the co-main
Which it
event,
should have been. That was a great fight too.
I'm like the video of those boys playing ping pong earlier in the week and then coming out putting on fight of the night, absolutely trying to kill each other. With Oliveira, he's someone I feel like regardless starts looking gassed, I feel like early, but still brings the like is throwing bombs till the end. Like it does like physically it doesn't match up with what he's putting
Right.
out, like the output he's putting.
There's a lot of guys like that. Like like watching Pantoja fight, how he always looks tired, but he never slows. He's like a very
Yeah.
consistent. And I think Anthony Smith fights like that too. Like they're not tired, but they look like Anthony Smith always looks like this, but then fights the same through the whole fight. Like,
Oliveira though, like always, like even I guess that's how he got that flying knee knockout last year. He's throwing bombs in the third, late in the third. He just has that power. I feel like he's such a dangerous fighter all through the fight.
yes. No. Good morning. Hello, Damon. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. He's a guy I just they're both really fun to watch. I really enjoy watching just that style of striking, probably mostly because I can't do it. Um, so I have an appreciation for these great strikers. But they were swinging for 3 rounds. It was fabulous to watch. And then of course, like we'll kind of gloss over the Pavlovich Rosenstruck fight. It was following after Nurmagomedov versus Oliveira. It was a little bit of a boring fight, but Sergey did what he had to do. I do think he looks a little bit different since the Tom Aspinall fight. Maybe a little more reserved, which I can understand. You get knocked out really badly, but he definitely seems to have changed up his style quite a bit from that fight. I've even watching like the Volkov fight as well.
I know that the commentators did say for this fight as well that those two were past training partners, so they've been in the room together. So there might have been a little bit of like, I guess, gun shyness because of that. Like they know, oh, he's trying to do this or he's trying to do this, and I feel like it was just like overanalyzation on both parts.
No, that does make sense. Yeah, they were both at ATT for a long time. Sergey only went back to Russia, I think, before the Volkov fight. Maybe was the first fight he didn't do at ATT, and then obviously Biggie Boy's still at ATT. So they probably that's a good point. They're probably very used to each other's games, which can be it's strange. I feel like part of it can be really confidence building, and part of it can be like stressful as well. Because I remember when Grant fought Zamir, he was like, I know I can beat him because I have, like
Mhm.
I've trained with him, I felt it, So it's like it's different.
No, I trained with Maria Agpova at ATT for probably about a year or so, and then we fought 2 years ago, I think now, and that was a fight like I'm like, I know I can beat her, but also going in there, I'm like, we've also never trained fully trying to like kill each other. Where I'm like,
Right.
when I watch her go out in a fight, when you watch my fight with her, I'm like, she hit me with like 30 elbows to the face while I was shooting a single leg. I'm like, that doesn't happen in training. So it's like you can't prepare for things like that, I guess, where it's like it is completely different in the fight versus in the training room.
100%. And I think there's people that do it. I think there's people that train nicer than they fight. And then there's people that fight a little more gun shy than they train. Like they'll try and take your head off in the training room. And then when they go into fight, they're a little more reserved, which is very strange to me. But there are definitely both sides of that. Oh, we have a comment. What do you guys think of Dakota Ditcheva? She is the best flyweight in the world.
No,
I'm
I
not
think
biased at all. I didn't just hang out with her 2 days ago. But I do think so.
I think that's hard to argue with. I think that honestly, I would love to see her come to the UFC. I would love to see like her perform with those girls, because I feel like that's obviously where the real challenges are. But beating someone like Tyler Santos isn't like she's no scrub.
No, 100%. Yeah, I agree. And we talk about Dakota a lot on the show. Dave loves Dakota too. Like we're all Dakota fans. She's a good friend of mine. But I definitely think we're gonna see her eventually with that UFC gold. Maybe not anytime soon. I know like she's still with PFL right now. I know she's very happy with them, but I would love to see it happen as well. Dude, we got to go back to the card because Michael Venom Page, middleweight Michael Venom Page is like a new character that we've all unlocked. Like, what? He looked massive. My reservation for him fighting Shara wasn't that I thought Shara. I'll be honest, I'm not super duper high on Shara. I just kind of looked at MVP as like he's a welterweight, he's older. I feel like Shara is going to be so much bigger than him, so much more physical, and just be able to pressure. But MVP looked huge.
Just
Absolutely huge.
the way he moves is just so weird. I feel like nobody can prepare for it. Nobody can take like I don't know, just to pick apart that type of striking. It's just such an awkward movement and it's like he's just so explosive. He almost like falls into people with his punches. But like when he first came to the UFC and like he fought with Kevin Holland, that was the time I was like, against any striker, I can't see him losing. I'm like, he just looks so good then. And then again last night, you saw it. He just looks so good. I feel like any fight that stays on the feet, he's a problem for a lot of people.
I'm just saying, guys, give me MVP versus Israel Adesanya at 185. That is the fight that I want to
know
see.
exactly what you're going to say there because that's the fight I want to see. I'm like, that's a great fight to make.
And it kind of like, it doesn't really make sense if you look at the rankings, but it makes sense for both of them. Like where Izzy's at, I think we definitely all kind of have this question after last night of what is next for Israel Adesanya. I'm going to be honest, I'm not on the board of the people like, oh, he's totally washed because I am of I think Imavov is very underrated school. That is school of thought. That's where I am. I think people aren't giving him the respect that he's going to have in a year from now. I think this loss is going to age well. But what is next for Israel Adesanya? Because this was definitely his win that would put him back into a conversation of fighting one of those top 5 guys again. It's the first time he's ever lost a fight that isn't a title fight. Like, what do you do with him now, G?
I just think he is past the point of fighting for title contention, fighting for title fights, but he is such a huge star power. So, like you said, like fights like Michael Venom Page, who is another huge star power, like those are the fights to make with him. Like huge, like, I don't know, big name fights. I feel like I don't see him fighting for the belt again at this point. I see him kind of like gatekeeping, so we need to keep him, like, if you want to keep him in the mix, keep his name, like, because he has a great like you watch his walkouts, you watch his interviews, everything. He's a great persona. Yeah, he's an icon. So it's like you need to just if you want to still use that marketing ability, then market him against another person who's a big star power, like a Michael Venom Page.
No, I agree. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to Michael Venom Page outside of his fights until Grant was like, oh, I really like him. And I was like, really? Because he's kind of like the opposite of Grant. Like in style and just most things, So I was like, huh. He's like, no, he's got like a great personality. And I started to like kind of like look at more of his interviews and more of what he was doing outside of the cage. And he really is a really like he doesn't talk too much trash. It's not like that, but it's funny and it's very tongue in cheek. And he's very like he's almost reminds me of like a cool comic book character, which is a lot like Israel Adesanya too. So I think they would make a really fun press conference, fun lead up to a fight, and honestly a fun fight. Before last night, I was like, Michael Venom Page is boring. He's boring with exciting bursts because that's how the Kevin Holland fight went. And I feel like that's how a lot of his fights at Bellator were as well. Like he would be it's like waiting, finds the shot, And that's not what I saw last night. Like that was so much fun to watch.
Oh yeah. I definitely thought going into the fight that he was going to win, but it was very impressive. I love the way he'll throw punches and then get trips off of them. It's like he overextends on his punches and steps behind Shara to get a trip. I'm like, it's little things I'm looking like, ooh, like because for my takedowns, just like mixing in that ability. But it was just a beautiful performance. And like you said with Imavov, honestly, I never really gave him credit for anything until last night. I'm like, until I watched him last night, then I was like, oh, this dude's better than I thought. Like the way so many people just try to strike Izzy. He was confident in mixing it up, like shooting sometimes, not necessarily to even get the takedown, but just to keep Izzy aware and then go back to striking. And just that I feel like shows such a high fight IQ, and he really impressed me last night.
No, me as well. And then I had this conversation with Dave where he's like, who is he beat? And I was like, after Saturday, I think it's going to be like, Izzy's going to be the guy that we're like, oh, Imavov beat Izzy. But it's also like, I do think he was a little, what's the word? Like a little, I've lost my train of thought. He was a little bit too, like a little like hesitant at first. Like it almost looked like he panicked a little. And I think having Israel Adesanya in front of you, twitching at you, and he still looked sharp. Like that's the thing. Izzy didn't look washed to me. Like he still looked like Izzy. That lead or that left kick is so fast. So fast. And so I feel like at first, that first takedown, like he was like, oh my God, I have to get a takedown, And then he kind of settled into the fight and realized, okay, I'm not getting hit a ton. I can strike with this guy. And then he was able to set up the fight, like the knockout shot. But just watching Imavov's reaction to a guy as twitchy as Israel Adesanya, like when he throws that high kick, like he's just like here and he's back. He's very like, it's super sharp. He doesn't bite on too many feints. And I think that's how Izzy gets most people is they're constantly like, they're like swatting at flies and stuff because they're that twitch and those feints. I feel like they were still there. Maybe he was a little bit more stationary than we've seen in the past, but I didn't think Izzy looked bad up until the very end, obviously. So I'm with you. I think Imavov is a lot better than a lot of people are giving him credit for.
And I really do think that's one of the, I guess, like overlooked but most valuable skills in MMA is just being in position. Like you said, he just short things in position. You watched Topuria fight. He is in position more than anybody else in the world. He's always in position, ready to go, ready to fire, just making his reads. I'm like, I feel like that is such a huge, valuable skill. And like I said, it shows just good fight IQ.
Yeah. No, I mean, all the best strikers, like we could go down the list, right? You watch like Edson Barbosa, phenomenal kickboxer. Joanna is always like, she's always ready to fire. That's why we have some of these crazy clips of Joanna like jumping over people's low kicks to kick them in the face because she's always where she needs to be. But yeah, no, it was cool to see some new blood in the division. I'm kind of bummed for Izzy. I think he's a super likable guy. We got some happy for Gillian on the fight announcement. Let's go. The Fight Bananas family is hype. But yeah, it was sad to see him lose like that. I think a little bit just because he is a likable guy. I've been loving his like side quest with Robert Whitaker that we've been watching. There's all the fighters are on side quests right now. Well, you said it was Chris Weidman. Who else is in a movie together?
So it's Chris Weidman, Aljo, and then my coach, Dean Thomas. They're in a movie that it was just released this week. It's called Grace Point. It's on Apple TV and it's on Amazon Prime. I'm like, awesome. And then we were actually talking too about Cheeto Vera's walking in Paris Fashion Week this last week. I'm like, all these fighters just doing their little side quests.
Yeah, no, I freaking love it. And honestly, I like to see a lot of fighters transition over to Hollywood. I know that's something Grant's really interested in doing when he retires from fighting. I think it's super cool. Like, I want to learn how to do stunts and stuff. But it's cool to see that there's life after fighting. But we've got Alex Pereira is in a movie that apparently his only line is Chama. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's a trolling moment or if that's actually his only line, but that would be so funny.
I hope
He's
so.
in a movie. That would be so freaking cool.
Say John Jones.
Was John Jones in a movie too?
Yeah, recently I saw.
I did see that.
Yeah, he was posting pictures in like army gear. I don't know, he doing some type of military movie, something like that. So I'm like, everybody's just. I always see Donald Cerrone too in movies, things like that.
He was just in a movie. Piotr Jan and Aljo are doing some like Russian Ultimate Fighter type reality show, which I think is cool that the UFC is letting them. I think that's pretty dope that there's more opportunities for fighters, but it's everybody's crushing their beefs too. I kind of like it. Like, we're at a very I think everybody's just beefing with Bryce Mitchell. Like, it's like everybody versus Bryce Mitchell, and then everybody's individual beefs are getting squashed. Robert Whittaker and Izzy are buddies now. Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira is flying to Australia this week to corner Sean Strickland a month out from his title defense against Ankalaev. That wasn't on my 2025 bingo card.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I honestly, I don't know if that's a great idea, personally. I don't know if you would fly across the world 4 weeks before a title defense. Your thoughts?
I'm not doing anything out of my schedule a month within a fight, 2 months within a fight, something like that. Like, I am not leaving. Like, I'm going to the gym and home, and that's it. Anybody asks me to do anything, I'm like, no, I have a fight coming up. So I'm not traveling across the world, especially if it has nothing to do with me. So I'm like, for him to do that, I'm like, well, one, I think Alex is a different human in general of just how he can approach. Yeah. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him fight like 5 times this year defending his belt. Like, he is that type of guy who will fight every other month. He is just a savage. And I'm like, you see it with moves like this, going out to Australia a month before his title fight.
No, that's wild. Like, I love their little side quest. But yeah, that's wild to me to travel, because I've done that flight to Australia, and it's rough. The jet lag coming back is another level. Like, it's literally like you lost a whole day of your life.
That was actually that was another one on the cards that I was like, don't want to be on that one. There was a couple of them. It was just strictly due to travel. I did not want to be on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I wouldn't want to fight in Australia. Gillian will be champ soon. Let's go. Oh, we got a good question. Oh, we're talking about movies. Gillian, who would you pick to play you in a movie?
That's a good one. I have no idea. Who would you pick to play me?
I honestly can't think. I'm trying to think of people with like bright red hair.
My first thought just goes
Emma
Black
Watson?
Widow. So I'm like Scarlett Johansson, maybe. I don't know. Like,
I kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I just go Black Widow when I think of red hair. So
Dave was at a show last night, then Sexy Red was there, and that's like all that my brain was like, Sexy Red. It's like, that doesn't make sense.
No, not that one.
Like the red hair. Emma Watson. I could see an Emma Watson.
I could see that.
Got the hair. See that. I can see it. We'll just throw a wig on Scarlett Johansson, call it good.
Yeah. Just call her up, tell her that we're making the movie.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. I'm in. Movies about Gillian Robertson. It's just smoke. There's just smoke everywhere all the time.
It's just me and my dogs chilling at my house making weed all day.
There's nothing to write a movie about here.
That's about it.
Oh my gosh. UFC Saudi Arabia. We broke down the whole card. Cheeto Vera's in fashion shows. Aljo and Piotr Jan are friends. Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira are cornering each other. And Izzy and Robert Whittaker have a podcast together. That's what's new in the world of MMA right now. And everybody hates Bryce Mitchell. That's where we're at, guys. But Thank you guys for joining us on this lovely Sunday morning. Sorry we were a little late. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but it is a wild game, Terry. I agree. It is a wild game. Gillian has a fight is the most important part of this show today. So, guys, Marina Rodriguez on May 3rd. Make sure you guys are going to tune in to that. And make sure you guys are tuning in for the pay-per-view this weekend. On Tuesday afternoon, we have a show. Gillian, are you joining us at 2 p.m., I believe?
Yes, I will be.
So, as per usual, it'll be Savage Time at 2 p.m. We also have two super, super exciting guests coming on the show today. We have a current UFC champ and a future UFC champ as well. So definitely we'll be announcing those over the next couple days. So stay tuned and make sure you join us Tuesday afternoon. We love you guys. Have a fabulous, fabulous Sunday.